AITA for standing firm and not giving my SIL the apology she thinks she deserves after making my trip awful. I, 40M, have a history of health problems. I have to eat before 9 p.m. or I get nauseous, and I need to avoid certain foods. When I met my SIL, I had a broken leg and was on crutches, so I wasn't in great shape. She's from a big city and repeatedly told me I should visit. She invited me to an exhibition, but instead of booking a place near it, she picked somewhere far away because it was cheaper. If she'd told me, I could have saved up for a better location, but she knew better because she's a native, and I'm from a small town. I trusted her because she had a car and implied we'd be driving. The plan was simple: travel Saturday, see the exhibit, get an early night, and head home Sunday after lunch. I didn't even ask for a day off since I was on probation. The trip was miserable. Instead of driving, we used buses and trains. Walking in the pouring rain, my leg hurt, I never got to rest, and she later decided the exhibition was too expensive. Instead, we aimlessly wandered in the rain. I paid for a different exhibit just to get out of the weather, but there was no seating and it was crowded. She later told everyone she only went because I insisted and that it was awful. We didn't eat until after 10 p.m. at a fancy restaurant she eventually settled on, but I couldn't stomach more than a few bites because I needed to eat earlier. I couldn't take my pain meds because I hadn't eaten enough, so I spent the night in pain. We had to check out early, and the next day, I was exhausted. She dragged me around the city, but I was too drained to process anything. By 5 p.m., I begged to go home since I had work the next day, but she kept stalling. We didn't get back to my hometown until 11 p.m., and she went shopping while I had to wait. I was stuck, no taxis, didn't know where I was, and she had the car. My broken leg and exhaustion made me feel incredibly vulnerable. When we finally got to my house at midnight, she smugly said, "I'm glad I'm unemployed. I can sleep all day tomorrow." I wanted to lose it, but stayed silent. I didn't speak to her for weeks. My brother reached out, saying she was upset I hadn't thanked her for a great trip and that I owed her an apology. I refused. He then started complaining about me to my parents while I wasn't there. My mom shut it down, pointing out that I never even got to see the exhibition, had to go to work sick and sleep deprived, and risked my job because I hadn't planned for recovery time. She said I was the one who deserved an apology. My brother and Sil went NC with me and my parents, saying I was the golden child and they were my enablers. Years later, they reached out when they needed my parents' help. My retired parents bent over backward for them. At Christmas, Sil and my brother visited. She made jabs at me when we were alone, so I ignored her, pretending not to hear with my deaf ear. She acted civil when others were around. After they left, my brother texted me, calling me a liar and again demanding an apology for the trip over 5 years ago. I sent a dry, emotionless apology. "I'm sorry she was upset by my needs." He hasn't replied since. I feel manipulated, like I'm expected to apologize for something that wasn't my fault. But she's using my brother's and parents' happiness against me. Am I overreacting, or could I handle this better? AITA?